My father interrupted me before I could finish my sentence when I told him about my boyfriend, Jack, and our plans to get married. He seemed to insinuate that Jack might depend on me for his living after retirement. Frustrated, I asked him to clarify, only to be shocked by his suggestion that my family might be trapping wealthy men for their inheritance. My father, Bradley shrugged his shoulders, agreeing with this hurtful notion. I was taken aback and couldn't believe someone could be so mean. Bradley's words made me feel inferior and disgusted. I am Laura Brown, a 31-year-old in San Francisco with my boyfriend Jack. We met in law school 5 years ago, fell in love instantly, and have been living together since graduation. I work as an attorney in a consulting company, while Jack is employed at a bank. 8 months ago, Jack proposed during a holiday, and we decided to inform our parents about our wedding plans. This weekend, we were set to meet my parents, followed by a meeting with Jack's parents the next week. This would be the first time we introduced each other to our respective families. Excited about our plans, I called my mom to share the news. However, my joy was marred by the hurtful conversation with my father. I couldn't understand why he would make such baseless accusations, tarnishing what should have been a joyous occasion. We've planned to return home this Sunday. Does that sound good? Yeah, sure. See you. The following week, Jack and I made our way to my parents' residence in Portland, where I had spent my entire upbringing. My father, David William, retired as a judge, and my mother devoted her time to being a homemaker. Jack appeared somewhat anxious during the journey, but I attempted to reassure him, assuring him that my parents were laid back. Oh yeah, I'll find out today. Upon entering the house, my mom eagerly came forward to welcome us. Jack greeted her with a nervous smile, and she ushered us into the living room, where Dad sat engrossed in his newspaper. Jack approached him and extended a handshake. My dad promptly rose and reciprocated with a formal handshake, his courteous demeanor swiftly dispelling Jack's nervousness. The day unfolded with discussions about work and life, accompanied by a delightful lunch prepared by my mom. Dad shared anecdotes from his time in the courtroom, and my parents appreciated Jack's polite nature. Jack also appeared to enjoy his time with my parents, and we departed with fond memories. Jack seemed relieved and delighted with the experience, and I shared in his happiness. The subsequent week marked my turn to meet Jack's parents. Throughout the week, Jack carried a sense of tension stemming from our visit with my parents. When I inquired, he simply stated, "You know, I don't get along well with my father." "I know, don't worry, it's just a matter of a few hours. We'll meet them and return home." Jack's father, Bradley Lewis, pursued a business career and hoped for Jack to join his real estate venture. However, Jack harbored different aspirations, desiring to study law. This difference in career paths strained their relationship over time. En route to his parents' home, Jack cautioned me, "Don't be upset if my father behaves arrogantly." "Why? What could be the reason?" "I'm not sure, perhaps he's still upset with me." "That happened a while ago. He must have forgiven you by now." "I hope so, but my father isn't quick to forgive." "Don't stress too much. You're just overthinking. Everything will be okay." Jack's nervous energy rubbed off on me, causing my unease. His residence, located on the opposite side of the city, was a story bungalow surrounded by a spacious lawn. Upon entering, Jack's mother, Kathleen, greeted us warmly. "Hello, my dear," she said, embracing us. Kathleen appeared kind and composed as she led us outside to the bungalow's lawn, where my fiancé's dad, whom I'll refer to as Bradley, awaited us. Jack rarely spoke about his father, but the little I knew led me to envision an arrogant, wealthy man eager to flaunt his riches. To my dismay, Bradley lived up to this image, sitting with folded arms and a rigid posture that suggested lingering anger towards Jack. As soon as I made eye contact with Bradley, I offered a wide smile and a greeting. "Good day, sir," I greeted. He acknowledged with a nod, signaling me to take a seat across from him. As I settled in, Kathleen tactfully broke the silence. "Laura, you exude beauty and elegance. Your parents seem to have taken great care of you." "Thank you for your kind words. You're beautiful as well," I responded, aiming to maintain a positive atmosphere. "That's very sweet of you. Could you share more about yourself?" Kathleen encouraged, offering some relief in the presence of Bradley, who sat with crossed legs, folded arms, and an inscrutable expression. With a smile, I began. "I was born and raised in Portland and currently work as an attorney at a consulting firm." Bradley's demeanor shifted noticeably, and he interjected with a somewhat accusatory tone. "Hold on, you're an attorney? Why can't your father provide for you? Does he not earn well? What did your father do?" His unexpected reaction caught me off guard, and I responded in a perplexed tone. "My dad is retired." He abruptly cut off my sentence, interrupting once again. He believed that he must be relying on me for his retirement, Without letting me complete my thought, he passed judgment, leaving me furious. When I sought clarification, he callously insinuated that it's common for impoverished families to manipulate their daughters into trapping wealthy men for inheritance. I was in shock. Did he mean to suggest that my family and I had trapped his son for our wealth? His nonchalant shrug in response was even more shocking. I couldn't fathom someone being so heartless. Bradley's disdain for my financial status made me feel inferior. The urge to leave overwhelmed me. But Jack, holding my hand, urged me to stay a while longer. Facing Bradley, Jack firmly stated that they hadn't come to endure his taunts. Instead, they were there to announce their impending marriage. When Bradley inquired about the financial aspects of the ceremony, Jack firmly replied that it was their business, not his father's concern. Bradley persisted, asserting that the financial burden would inevitably fall on Jack. An argument ensued, with Jack losing his temper and defending his decision to pursue law rather than joining the family real estate business. He refuted the claim that Laura influenced his choices, emphasizing that he didn't even know her when he left home. Bradley's unreasonable accusations against me and my parents were met with Jack's strong opposition. Finally, Jack asserted that he had no further comments and censured Bradley for making life decisions centered around marrying a financially challenged girl. She and her parents appear to have already cornered your dad. Stop. I've met her parents. They are kind people and have no interest in your wealth. The conversation between them became intense. You've consistently made poor choices in life. I had already given up on you when you chose to study that seemingly foolish law and work for a meager salary instead of joining my business. I strongly disapprove of your business due to its questionable moral standing. Please, let's put an end to this argument, Kathleen pleaded, intervening in the heated exchange. Jack angrily rose from his seat and exited the lawn, with me following closely. Kathleen hurried behind us, imploring us to stop. Jack, please stop, she begged, but he ignored her and continued towards the bungalow exit. Glancing back, I witnessed Kathleen tearfully running towards us. I halted, and she grasped my arms, saying, Please ask him to stop. The last time he left like this, he didn't meet me for several years. I stood there, feeling a sense of sympathy and remorse for her predicament. She wasn't to blame. She suffered due to her husband's arrogance. Laura, please ask Jack to calm down, Kathleen implored. I struggled to find the right words, still upset with Bradley's remarks. Attempting to console her, I replied, Jack is upset right now. Once he's in a better mood, I'll ask him to call you. Yes, please ask him to call me, please. Sure, take care, okay? I said as I exited the premises. Kathleen continued sobbing as I left the bungalow to find Jack waiting for me inside the car. We drove back in silence, both deeply affected by the events at his father's house. After dinner, Jack apologized for his father's behavior. Honey, I want to apologize for my father's behavior. I know he hurt you with his cruel words. Yeah, I understand it's not your fault, but I can't overlook the fact that he's incredibly arrogant. How can someone be so rude? I know he's your father and I shouldn't speak ill of him, but he was unkind to me. He has always been a mean person. Unfortunately, my mom has to endure his arrogance. I wonder how she's put up with your father for all these years. Jack's mom has always been a gentle-hearted woman, and it seems that his dad is taking advantage of her forgiving and caring nature. I empathize with your mother. I also cut off ties with her when I'm angry with Dad. However, she has consistently loved and supported me. It's not fair to punish her for our father's mistakes. You should reach out to her now. She was genuinely upset when you left the house in anger. You're right, let me call her. Thanks for supporting me. After the call, Jack had a conversation with his mom, pacifying her. Still in shock, I was concerned that Bradley might insult my parents at our wedding. When Jack returned after talking to his mom, I shared these concerns with him. He assured me that he would figure something out. As we delved into wedding preparations, I expressed my desire to marry on my parents' wedding anniversary in the same church where they tied the knot. Initially amused, Jack later agreed as it wasn't a big deal. With the date 8 months away, we gradually made preparations, booking a resort in Portland for the wedding dinner. My parents suggested a pre-wedding dinner with Jack's parents for the families to get to know each other. Both Jack and I were hesitant, anticipating that Bradley might ruin the gathering. I informed my parents that Jack's dad was often busy with business travel. Although my father sensed something was amiss with our reluctance for a family get-together, he did not press further. Jack shared the wedding date and location with his mom, who expressed happiness and excitement. She called me multiple times, showing genuine interest in the wedding preparations. As the wedding date approached, my concern grew about facing Bradley on my big day. Many times, I considered asking Jack not to invite Bradley, but I feared my parents would become suspicious of his absence. Moreover, Not inviting Bradley might prevent Kathleen from attending, and I didn't want her to suffer because of him. I opened up to Jack about my anxiety, saying, "Jack, I'm worried that your father might ruin our big day with his arrogance." Jack admitted sharing my concern and assured me, saying, "What if he insults my family in front of the guests?" He smiled and responded, "If he does, I'm sure your father would handle him and teach him a lesson. After all, he is a judge and knows how to handle difficult people." When I suggested telling my parents about this, Jack advised against it, fearing unnecessary stress. He said, "Let it be. If anything happens, I'll ensure that my dad doesn't cross his line." Although still not fully convinced, I found assurance in Jack's words as he looked at me and said, "Honey, no matter what happens, I'll always be on your side, so cheer up." His response eased my concerns. I knew my father could handle the situation, as Bradley's arrogant assumption that we were after Jack's inheritance was untrue. The day before our wedding, we drove to Portland, having booked a hotel for friends and relatives. Jack's mom informed me that they would come directly to the church for the main wedding. Nervous but excited, I walked down the aisle with my dad, experiencing the happiest moment of my life. During the vow exchange, I noticed David and Kathleen entering the church. My parents escorted them to the front row, where Kathleen waved happily. Meanwhile, Bradley sat with a grim face. At that moment, I stopped caring about him. I was overjoyed to have my parents with me as I embarked on the journey of marrying Jack. Everything went smoothly, and after the ceremony, we retired to the hotel for some rest before the wedding dinner. Curious about whether my parents had the opportunity to meet Jack's parents, I inquired with my mom. She revealed that due to the late arrival of Jack's parents and the bustling wedding preparations, they only exchanged formal greetings. Concerned, I nervously questioned whether Bradley, Jack's father, had expressed any concerns. My mom reassured me that Bradley hadn't conveyed anything and seemed rather silent throughout. However, she noted that he appeared upset, which heightened my anxiety. As we gathered for the wedding dinner, I couldn't shake off my unease. When Jack's parents unexpectedly showed up, Kathleen, Jack's mother, was cheerful and greeted everyone with a warm smile. In contrast, Bradley stood rigid with folded arms, showing no interest in offering congratulations. Instead, he confronted Jack, expressing dissatisfaction with the decision to hold the wedding at our place rather than theirs. Jack defended the choice, urging his father not to spoil the occasion. Bradley, however, accused my family of ruining Jack's life by organizing an extravagant wedding dinner. Kathleen intervened, attempting to diffuse the tension, but Bradley remained adamant, unconcerned about the arriving guests. To salvage the situation, my parents approached Jack's parents, extending warm greetings and apologizing for the lack of formal introduction at the church. Despite Bradley's apparent disapproval, they maintained a polite conversation. When Bradley finally introduced himself, he highlighted his successful real estate business with an impressive annual turnover of over $22 million, though the strained atmosphere persisted. Bradley once again interrupted, expressing his awareness of my father's retirement. "Yeah, I know. Laura mentioned that you're retired now. It must be difficult for you." My father, with a hint of humor, responded, "Difficult? Why would it be difficult? I receive a handsome pension from the government for my service. I'm a retired judge, not a retired janitor." Amused by my father's unexpected revelation, Bradley stammered, "What? Are you a retired judge? Why is that a surprise? Did you assume I was a janitor?" My father burst into laughter, realizing that Bradley was attempting to flaunt his wealth. Responding in a witty manner, he quipped, "Surprise, a retired judge. Did you assume I was a janitor?" Caught off guard, Bradley turned pale and struggled to find words. In a subdued voice, he muttered, No, I didn't assume anything like that. I just didn't know you were in government services." Satisfied with the revelation, my father asked, "Now that you know, do you have anything to say?" "No, I'm good, thanks." Observing the situation, I noted that Jack was right about my father's ability to handle Bradley. Bradley, who initially made me feel inferior by assuming my family's financial status, was now taken aback to discover my father's esteemed position as a retired judge at the Portland court. As my parents excused themselves to greet other guests, Bradley pulled Jack aside, expressing his frustration. "Why didn't you tell me her dad is a retired judge?" Before Laura could respond, he abruptly cut her off. "Excuse us. We want to enjoy our wedding dinner," Laura interjected, redirecting the conversation. Bradley's face turned red with anger, realizing he had miscalculated the social dynamics. He had presumed he was the wealthiest at the party, only to find renowned government officials and bureaucrats mingling with my parents. Left with no one to vent his frustration to, he turned to Kathleen. The rest of the evening he feigned a smile during introductions to high-profile guests, but his frustration was evident. Eventually he left the party early, dragging Kathleen with him, leaving her torn between spending time with us and fulfilling Bradley's demands. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. After a few months, I learned that Kathleen had decided to divorce Bradley. Her motivation stemmed from an inability to tolerate his dominating nature. Jack confided in me that Bradley didn't initiate the establishment of the business himself. Rather, it was inherited from his paternal grandfather, who happened to be Kathleen's father. As the only daughter, Kathleen's father entrusted the business to Bradley before retiring to the countryside. Despite Bradley being the face of the business, the true owner was Kathleen. Following their divorce, she reclaimed her father's ancestral business from Bradley and handed it over to her first cousin. The bungalow, where Jack's parents resided, also belonged to Kathleen's family. After the divorce, Bradley was ousted from this ancestral home and found himself with no place to live. Kathleen shared with me that Bradley's parents and siblings had severed ties with him long ago due to his insulting behavior towards them in light of their financial struggles. Now, Bradley, having burnt bridges with his family, is making a living through odd jobs. Despite his predicament, I find it hard to feel sympathy for him, given the damage he caused to his relationships due to his shallow and arrogant nature. It appears that Bradley entered into marriage with Kathleen solely for her wealth, and his subsequent behavior suggests a projection of his greed onto others. On a positive note, Jack and I frequently visit Kathleen at her bungalow, where she has embarked on organic farming in the backyard, cultivating fresh fruits and vegetables. She generously shares her harvest with us during our visits. Witnessing her independent and content life, unaffected by her former husband's cruelty, brings me joy. Jack and I, too, are enjoying a happy and prosperous life together.